Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Rooted in Hebrew. My name is Mike. Just trying to get this day started. Slow motion. That's what this day is about. It's very slow motion. Um, Hold on. I titled this live as Black Eyez. And like I was saying some months ago, and this is before when uh, this guy came into office. Shalom, brother Kenneth. I'm glad you made it in today, brother. Um, I was stating that he's going to open up his mouth, and what we hear and what other people hear or say or do is going to be it was going to be what's the word? It's going to take on a different understanding when it comes to his minions, and we're seeing that right down to this day. When I say black eyes, I'm speaking about the people, palm colored people that see you as a black person. Instantly, there's a hatred. Shalom, Sister Linda Cross. Shalom, Sister Zenobia. There is an instant hatred when their eyes behold who you are. That is, person of color. And you become some of everything mentally. That's what you become. Shalom, Sister Patricia. You instantly, you become uh, some of everything in their minds. When Trump came into office, people felt, because they so used to antagonizing us so much, to they felt they had the power to go to Cincinnati, hang up their little flags, and say what they wanted to say, and think what they wanted to do. Truthfully, I'm like Brother Dave. The police was in on that. The way they were sitting about, walking about as if, oh, y'all ain't gonna act a fool here. Now, when we hear, they have this false sense of security, and it's going to cost them very dearly. That's what's going to happen. That is an absolute fact. Because now, I want you, brothers and sisters, to understand the gravity of them laying eyes on our black skin. The brother that that has his car that he invented, he's a brother. He's a black guy. Now you can let's just sit back and let that sink in. You got this other guy who was white that supposed to be the smartest guy on this planet. They came up with these electric cars. Yeah, right now he's top dog. But on the very near horizon, he's looking like an idiot now. Because now you have this brother who done superseded him in so many different ways. And when he lay his eyes upon him, all Elon is going to see is hatred. Who do this nigga think he is? And ain't just him. It's going to be his investors also. Hey, this man is going to hurt our bottom dollar. That's what they're looking at. That's what they're looking at from a technology standpoint. Do we need to go to the political side? Alrighty then. Ibrahim Torre. What is he doing? Oh, he's gathering other nations together to have that one mindset, that unity. Oh, yes, they very upset. Shalom, Yad Saint. They very upset. That's that black eye effect. And we have that. And it's getting stronger by the day, or by the minute, rather. That's what's happening. It's getting very strong. We, you could take now you could take a brother or a sister, and please don't be in no traffic stop. And we all know this. It's like a United States. Uh, it's like they got that down as a copyright. They're the only ones who can profile black people. This is what they do, and it's getting deeper. That hatred is getting deeper. It is, and it's becoming more intense. Now, to you all that may not know, um, Trump sent out some type of mandate that they wanted them to stop recruiting black people, black men, or black people. I mean, truthfully, brothers, um, that's not a bad thing. But when it comes to the world, they go look at it, oh, you being so and so. Oh, we knew that from the get go. I mean, what? I mean, it ain't like we've been fooled as to who he was and what he represent. We knew that from the get go. Like what? But from all these standpoints, you're starting to see an intense hatred that is engulfing the West over to Africa, period, across the board. And you have a lot more brothers, African brothers and sisters, that are also jumping on the cases of what's going on in the United States when it comes to the treatment of our people. They do not understand what's happening right before their faces. There is a unity that is taking place right before their face, and they still can't understand it because it's that hate that's not allowing them to see. That's what's happening. That is what's happening. They don't see the unity that's happening. Well, they do see that unity now. They do see that. But they also seeing their future dollars going up in smoke. That's what they're seeing. And then when their money is going up in smoke, where goes money? Power. That's the next thing they're gonna think about. Yeah, we lose this money here, we're gonna lose this power here. So yes, they very much concerned. They very much concerned. When we're thinking about family and longevity, they're thinking about control, conquering, dominating, killing. That's what they think about. That's what they think about. That's what their world is built upon. Hold on just for a moment. I know that Sister Doreen. Oh, yeah. Shalom, Sister Doreen.
Shalom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Loud and clear. Loud
Awesome.
and clear. Yeah, I was just talking to the brothers and sisters about, you know, um, I ain't gonna, but we'll call it a struggle. The struggle between black and white, and we starting to see a lot more of hatred because we're seeing on the political side, um, Trump is telling his people not to hire or recruit black men into the army. Black businesses, issues, they going up in smoke, and it just and the well, along with what these brothers and sisters, what Ibrahim Torre is doing, and I'm just saying, the more the world continues to lay their eyes upon us, it's like their hatred is getting a whole lot deeper, and at the same time, how we need to mm, still be on guard. That's the thing I was looking at, and just to what talk about that for a few minutes, and then we get into your the financial side, because when it's all over said and done, that's where the majority of their hatred is coming from. Elon, he sees he see problems down the road when it's going to come down to his money. Uh, last week, I think they said his stocks went down to like 59%. So yeah, when that brother released his invention, that right there was a game changer. You don't have to charge the car up. And matter of fact, that brother car, it went on the market on the 10th of February. That's when it went out to the public for sale. Now, let's just sit back and wait for this year and see how many people purchase this car and things of that nature. Yes, because it's going to save people money. You're not buying gas, so you didn't cut into the oil industry. And when they see him, they see hatred. You mess with our money. Elon, you mess with my invention. You're a complete. Not only are you beyond being competitive, you superseded me. That's their mindset, and that's how I'm taking it, because they're taking this hatred and they're showing themselves. That's what they're doing. They're showing themselves uh, as to what they're going to do. Now, I was looking at this brother's channel yesterday, and I do understand what he was saying, that United States being purchased or whatever, and it makes a lot of sense what he was saying. And but at the same time, that being said, we still got to be on the watch when it's all over said and done. We need to be that. We need to be always alert. Of course, they're not going to think the way we think. They're not going to move the way we move. Now, to show you, um, to show you how low down it can be, Trump went into South Africa and cut off funding for HIV. That's what he did, because he felt that the black Africans was mistreating the white Africans who went in and stole land from the black Africans. But it's the Africans that's mistreating the white. But this is the dumb stuff that he comes up with. So now, we all know that Africa is plagued with HIV. We know that. And we also know, and let's not forget, that's something that the Europeans brought to the land. That's what they did. But they don't want to comment on that. I tell you, they brought that to the land, and they want to sit back and play this role. Or we go swoop in like Superman. Shalom, Sister Kathy. And Shalom says the pixie dust. They swoop in and act like they superheroes when when you are the one who brought that nonsense to the continent. You literally sat there and orchestrated a disease trying to kill these particular people off the land. Slavery was not good enough. They got to try to kill you. Mm. This is what they practice. Hoard. This is what they have been doing. This is their legacy. Yes, and when his Sister Pixie does, they can sit right here and paint that picture. Before he got elected, you had all these black people saying this, and you had the Spanish they having mega parties and everything. Now, reality kicked in. Oh, we've been deceived. Are you for real? You knew this when you was what? I mean, how blind can you be? How blind can you be? Everybody knew who Trump was, what he was about. Just because he wanted, they came up with some gym shoes, and you mean to tell me, oh yeah, this all black people need. You give them some gym shoes, that'll be straight. They'll vote for me. And some of these brothers played into it. Played into it. Shalom, brother Ricky. Played into it very deeply. They did. They played into it like it was a violin. It was like as if they was part of the orchestra. And it's as if they didn't give it a second thought. But this is what we contended with now. They seeing Shalom, Sister Linda Cross. They're seeing it. Now you got the world calling us out saying, why y'all don't want to help these people here? Why y'all don't want brothers? There comes a point in time where you got to sit back and help yourself. We took blows for a lot of different nationalities of people. Yes, we did. We even took a blow for people that does not exist, but do. They're not a race. They are not a race, but they're out on our platform. They use our platform to get their agenda out there. And I'm talking about the what do you call it? The alphabet people. Yes, they hopped on it. They have more rights than you do. They have more rights than you do. That's the thing. But I tell you, what is it going to take for us to start preparing ourselves for the worst? We seeing what's happening. This man has opened up his mouth. He's letting you know what he's up to, what he's about. And how should we move? How should we move? At least from the time being of the strength of this soul. Hold on just for a moment. Sorry, I'm back. Hold on for a minute, brothers. Hold on just for a moment.
Shalom, family. Can you hear me?
You know what? Let's move on with with Sister Doreen, and we can always revisit this conversation, because when it's all over said and done, um, from the time being, we go. Did you hear? Ooh. Yeah, I know. Guinea? No, I ain't hear about that, Sister Pixie Dust. Mm. No, I didn't hear about that. But let me do this, because I had got a phone call and things. I had to let my cousin know I had to call him back. Well, let's Sister Doreen.
Yes,
Hey, how you doing, sis?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I can't complain. If I did complain, I'm not going to even listen to my own self.
There you go.
Go ahead and handle your business, sis.
All right. Once again, Shalom, family. We're going to get right into this. Before we get started, I just want to congratulate those who took the action of the challenge from last week. And if you haven't done so, move on that. As you can tell, things are moving rapidly. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you can go back and listen to the broadcast from last Wednesday. It was basically the introduction, and we talked about the mindset, the money mindset. And today we're going to be talking about debt, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm just going to get started. Again, today we will not be able to see my screens, but that's okay. We'll keep going. So last week I talked about the three classes that I split groups into, and that was the poor, the wealthy, and the working class. And inside the working class, I had three groups: the broke, comfortable, and rich. And just to give a synopsis on that, when I say broke, comfortable, and rich, I am not talking about a dollar sign. I am talking about a habit. So for broke, they usually are living paycheck to paycheck. They have little to no savings. If they have credit cards, they are maxed out. And 10 times out of 9, they're paying the minimum amount or a little bit above. Their credit score tends to be low, and they tend to need financial assistance, be it from family, friends, government, whoever. And then comfortable, they're usually putting away money. They're able to save some. They could usually last maybe from 2 to 6 paychecks. They pay their credit cards. They pay probably a little bit more than the minimum amount or some more, but they don't generally pay it off. They do pay on them. Their credit is generally good, and they think they're living the American dream. And I say think for a reason. And then the rich, and in this category, I do include high wage earners. So those that are making a lot of money. It could be your entertainers, your sports figures. Some of them are still in the working class. They have a lot in savings, in different savings accounts and other investment accounts. They are in a position to pay off their credit cards. They tend to have good to great credit as far as credit score, and they tend to have a financial advisor, somebody who's running their money. Um, the poor class, they may or may not have credit. They may or may not have a savings account, and they're limited because majority of their money is coming from the government. So we're talking about those on general assistance, those that are um, SSI, Social Security, even though Social Security kind of overlaps with the working class because they generally work at some time. But if they are relying solely on Social Security now, then they end up falling in the poor class because there's a cap on how much they get from Social Security. And then there's other types of people that are in that poor class. Primarily, if your money is coming from a government benefits program, you're in that class because there's a cap on how much income you can receive. The other side, the wealthy class, they know how to manage their money. They may or may not have a financial advisor. A lot of times they do, but it's a different type of financial advisor than the rich have in the working class. And the credit score is generally excellent, not because they're watching it so much, but because of the habits they formed. And they just live a different financial life. And that's kind of what I'm introducing us to. Not that I'm saying I'm trying to get everybody to be wealthy, but to think differently about their financial independence. So that's kind of what we talked about last week. I probably went into it more this week than last week. But anyway, now we're getting to the good, the bad, the ugly of debt. So I put the good under wealthy class. I put the bad, which is bad or no debt, under poor class. And it overlaps to the broke group in the working class. And then in the working class overall, I have the ugly. Why did I break it up this way? So the poor class, like I said, they generally have no debt. They may have credit cards, especially if you're coming from like Social Security, where you were part of the working class. That's why I said it overlaps. But they try to keep it low or pay them off and don't use them. On the other side, the wealthy class, they have good debt. And I will explain what good debt is because it has been coined in the wealthy class that there's something called good debt. I'm going to focus on the working class, which I said is ugly, the ugly debt. And that's because it depends on how you're using your debt or depending how you use debt. So I'm going to explain debt a little further because I would hear these words and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm in debt because I can't pay my bills. That's basically how I saw debt. And credit, it was credit cards or loans. But anyway, debt basically is money you owe to others. So if you owe anybody, that is a debt. Credit, on the other hand, is money you borrow from a lender. So different types of credit is credit cards, personal loans, business loans, lines of credit like the HELOC, the home equity line of credit. There's business line of credit. You also have government bonds, and you have well, I'll talk about that in a minute. So all of these types of loans, you end up borrowing from some type of lender, and you usually pay it back with interest. Now, there is something called promissory notes, and those are usually between individuals if you even write up any kind of contract, like family, friends, and it gets even higher up, but it's more of a private type thing. And a lot of times that's no interest, just pay me back what I loaned you and we're good. So when we're talking about interest though, this is something you pay on top of however much money you borrowed. And so that means now you borrow something, you're going to have to make more money than what you borrowed to be able to pay it back. Interest in the Bible is actually called usury. And it states in the Bible that usury is actually a sin. It's a crime if you put usury on the Israelites, is what it says. And there are various scriptures in the Bible that talk about it. And they talk about prohibiting charging interest. And let's see if I have one that I can bring up. I think Exodus. All right, I see we lost Mike. Am I still here? Let me know if you hear me, family.
I hear you. I got kicked out just for a moment. I'm back.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I am looking at Exodus 22, 22, 25. And let's see. Basically, it's just talking about if you lend money to any of the poor among you, you shall not be like a money lender. You shall not charge interest.
Yeah.
Also, and I have different scriptures. Oh, another one, Deuteronomy 23. And that one is 19 and 20. Okay, and this is where it talks about you shall not charge interest to your brother or to the Israelites, as it says in different versions of the scripture. So outside of that, though, you can charge interest. And a lot of these banks and other depository institutions, that's what they do. If you get a loan or credit card or whatever from any of these type of institutions, they usually attach interest to that. So who are these depository institutions? I will focus on banks and credit unions. And both banks and credit unions offer financial services, including checking and savings accounts, loans, and credit cards. Banks, however, are for-profit institutions, and credit unions are usually not for-profit, and they're owned by the members. Banks are open to anyone, and they offer easy access to branches and ATMs. They offer more varieties in financial products, and they offer higher interest rates. Credit unions have membership requirements and offer more personalized customer service and lower fees. They don't have as many branches, but they may be connected to a network that offers more branches that you can access. So generally, we have accounts in these type of institutions. Although I do have friends to this day who don't have a bank account. They don't trust them. They're still working on under the put your money on the mattress or under the mattress or between the mattress kind of mentality. So it kind of takes you out of the game, so to speak, when you don't have some form of credit. I remember, this was some time ago now, I went to purchase property, and I didn't have any credit cards or anything like that, because I had fallen on hard times and I didn't want to get in debt. And you have a lot of people who prescribe get out of debt, cut up your credit cards, get out of debt. And so I followed that philosophy. I paid off all my bills. I didn't want any credit cards. I'm trying to think if I had a bank account. If I did, I didn't keep a lot in it. And anyway, so when I went to get this property, I was turned down because they found a federal tax lien on my credit report. And I'm like, what? And so, of course, it's like all bets are off. Nope, you need to get this taken care of. So I ended up calling the IRS and had it taken off. It was taken off immediately. And I went back to the broker I was dealing with. And he's like, there's no way you could have gotten that taken off like that. Let me see. And I showed him the paperwork. And he was like, oh my gosh, it never happens this quick. So he said, okay, well, we're ready. And he goes to process the paperwork again. And now I don't exist in the credit system. Not that I had a zero score. I didn't exist because I had no credit. I guess I fell off the the credit reporting system. And what ended up happening is I ended up having someone add me to a credit card, someone who had good credit, add me to one of their credit cards, and it jumped my credit score up really high, and I was able to get this property. I say all of that to say this whole country, and probably the world, but for sure this country operates off of credit and debt. So to get out of the system, if you're planning on being in the grid, you have to have something. They want to monitor you some type of way.
Well, I see that a problem. I see that being a problem.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like what y'all saying. You know, I did the credit thing and all that stuff, kept up with the numbers and stuff, but it felt like this is just me now. I don't want to be living my life hanging by a thread. Saying I got to live with. I know in order for anyone to live away from the system, you never have to be living off grid. When you talk about a credit card, you're going to make sure you have the money to back yourself up, because I mean that's what it's going to amount to being. You know, I'm just not a big fan of credit card debt. I mean, but using credit, period. That's just me now. I mean, I could be wrong. Shalom, Sister Van P. Go ahead, Sister.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what this is all about. Okay, it says my battery is low. I cannot be cut off. Okay, let's see. All right, so yes, that's what we're getting into, and that's that good debt I had under wealthy. We'll get to it. So how do banks and credit unions come up with these interest rates? And that is the connection to the Federal Reserve. How many of you are familiar with the Federal Reserve and its operation. So just put a Y or yes if you know about the Federal Reserve in the chat. And as you're doing that, I'll talk a little bit about the Federal Reserve. So first
Hold
of
on.
all,
Let me ask you something, Sister Doreen. Sister
yes.
Kathy, Sister Kathy said this. She's look at her comment. Is that possible?
Yep.
They can, you know, you can have a high score like that, and they can delete you out of the system. Mm. Wow.
I'd have to check into that, Sister Kathy. I never used the card, so they deleted my credit.
Wow.
Yeah. If you don't use the card, that's another sign of not having credit. So we're going to get into this. So anyway, the Federal Reserve, the name makes it sound like they're part of the government. And how many believe it's part of the government?
No, I know it's not part of the government.
Yes, this is a private entity. It is most countries have a central bank, which is what the Federal Reserve is. It is a central bank, and it is the central banking system for the United States. So just like we go into a commercial or retail bank, the government has the Federal Reserve. It is the government's bank. So of course they don't have a checking account, savings account, but there is a loan system of sorts. And currently the chair for the Federal Reserve is Jerome Powell. If you've ever heard that name, he is the chair over the Federal Reserve. There are several, I think there's like 12 branches or regional branches in the United States. And they are powerful. They are responsible for maximizing employment. So they're following our unemployment rates and all of that. They are responsible for stabilizing our prices. And hear what I'm saying. And they are also the ones who moderate interest rates. So they just had a meeting and a reporting this past Wednesday, I think. No, not yesterday, last week. One of these days in the last week or so, they had a meeting. And out of that, they chose to hold where they are. But they are the ones who increase interest rates or reduce interest rates. And that affects anybody who charges interest. So it's a range that that the banks and other depository institutions have, because it's not just banks and credit unions. You can get a credit card from a department store. But all of this the interest rates are regulated from the Federal Reserve. And within that, you can get this range, and that range could depend on your credit score. So all of this is kind of tied in together. And there's also a committee in the Federal Reserve, and they're responsible. I think it's called the Federal Open Market Committee, and they are responsible for setting the monetary policy. The monetary policy is basically the money supply and the interest rates. So when you see these interest rates fluctuating, it's because the Federal Reserve is doing something. Now, their next meeting, I think, is in May. And I know they just had something. I think it was Wednesday. But like I said, they decided to hold. They did not raise or did not lower. So the banks and all those who receive money off of interest probably are not moving much. Although I did see one credit card company that lowered their interest rate. And that makes a big difference if you're a saver or if you have credit. So I don't really want to get too much more into the Federal Reserve. However, a couple of the credits that I mentioned, government bonds, promissory notes. If anybody is close to their wallet, coin purse, can pull out $1, I want you to look at the face of that dollar and notice that it says, hold up, I'm bringing it up for me because I can't show it to you, but it should say Federal Reserve Note. And right under the word the United States of America, it says to the left, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. And most of us don't even pay attention to that. We just collect our money, whether it's $1, $10, $5, whatever. We collect this, we go ahead because we know we can use this to buy things. But in actuality, it is a form of debt between the government and the Federal Reserve. So when they talk about printing money and all of that, we are creating debt. Debt that the government pays back through taxes they receive from income, capital gains, business tax. There's all kind of different taxes that they collect to pay off this debt. So if your government's operating off of debt, then that's kind of like a whole trickle down thing, that we're all succumb to debt as much as we try to get out of it. Did anybody see that on the dollar bill?
I seen that. That legal tender and everything on that dollar bill. Then it was a note. I seen that years ago.
All right, sister, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you see Sister Linda Cross comment?
Yes. Which bank lowered? I'll send you a email. Did you? Well, I'll let you know. Capital One, I believe, is the one that lowered their interest rate. I think they were at 3.8%, and I'm talking about their high yield savings account, and they went down to 3.7%. So while many of us are, going through our day-to-day and all of that, oblivious to all of this, all of these things are taking place, and we don't see how much it affects us. So getting back to the banks, interest rates go two different ways. It could be to your favor, and that's if you have a savings account, money market account, that kind of thing, where they pay you interest. Or if you have credit cards, and that's where they charge you interest. So again, I don't know if we pay attention when we get our credit card statements or our line of credit statements. On there, it will show you how much you're paying in interest. And it can be anywhere from 15% up to 30%, I've seen. That's a lot. So on top of what you owe them, they're charging you even more. Like I said, 30%. So if I had $1,000, 30% of that is 300. So you're having to pay back 1,300. And if you don't pay back the full amount, then it becomes compounding interest. So they take the total of what's left and then take 30% off of that. So this is how people get in debt, and it's hard to get out of debt, because that if you don't pay it off, that debt that is increasing, it's compounding in interest. And again, most of us don't recognize that. And I shouldn't say most. There are some who don't recognize it. And it gets you further and further in debt. So that's why a lot of people say, get out of debt, get out of debt. And it is good to get out of consumer debt. That is what most of this is. And it gets you in trouble. I've seen people who use credit cards as an extension to their income. So their income plus this credit card is, or their paycheck plus this credit card is what I can spend. And with that habit, eventually, especially if you're not paying off the credit card and you're paying a monthly fee that's low, close to the minimum, it can quickly add up and you can quickly max out your credit card. And so a lot of people in that working class, they operate like this. Now, like I said, those that are rich, they can probably pay it off. But I still have them in the working class because they still have that mentality of all the money I have coming in, I get to spend. Even though it's a lot, they don't really look at how to invest their money to keep it going. So eventually, if they don't have another gig, another project or something that's bringing in more money and they're living off of this same money, it may take a while. You may not see it for a few years, but it eventually hits them. That's why I have rich in the working class, and I've separated rich from wealthy. So going over to, I'm trying to see what else. I'm trying to flip back and forth to my screen so I can stay on track here.
Well, let me ask you, Sister Kathy is saying, what's going on with the housing interest rate nowadays?
So the housing interest rate, believe it or not, is not as low as it used to be. So the Federal Reserve, I'm trying to remember if it was a year or 2 years ago, started raising the interest rate. So the interest rate on housing and buying a house started going up. But the Federal Reserve has been lowering the interest rate, but not, the housing market hasn't really kept up as much because there's still demands. Out here in Nevada, they are building like crazy. So people are still buying. So they tend to keep that interest rate kind of level where it's at. It's also a regional and local kind of thing. So one city could be hurting in the market, housing market. Another city could be thriving. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on in the housing market. Let me see if I see. So I see Sister Monica saying, this is why I no longer have a credit card. So unearned income is key. And I see Silver Freak said that one. Yes, that is true also. Um, so we have this working class. We're out here. We're doing all that, and if you have credit cards, you're using them, it's smart to pay off more if you can on these credit cards. If you happen to have a credit card statement that you can look at, we can take a look at the statement, and on there you will see your interest rate. It may not be at the top. Most of the time I see it's down a few pages where it tells you what your interest is. And there's a different interest rate if you have a cash advance as opposed to purchases and things of that nature. Um, there's usually also at the bottom a chart that tells you how long it would take to pay off the credit card if you pay the minimum and don't make any more purchases. And it will surprise you the number of years if you have, especially if your card is like maxed out or close to being maxed out, how many years it would take to pay this credit card off. Um, and of course, all of this affects your credit score. And so a lot of people in the comfortable group pay a lot of attention to, oh, I got to get my credit score up, and I got to do this and that. They focus on that credit score.
That's
And
if they go borrow money, though, right?
yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, if you want to buy a house, anything that they check your credit on. Some places check, if you want a job, they check your credit score.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it can mean a lot, especially like I said, to those in the working class, because they're still about living the American dream, getting a house with the white picket fence. I don't know if that's still a dream these days. That's old school thinking, but it's still this American dream out there.
I'm gonna tell you about that American dream. You got a lot of these Gentiles stressed out. They all on TikTok talking they can't make it. So I don't think that American dream is a reality. With them that is. And so wow.
Right. And there's still some of us striving for it too. But anyway, that's the negative side of, or the ugly side of, debt and being in debt. So I want to talk a little bit about what the wealthy do that makes their debt, I guess, good, as they say. And they use it to their advantage. They've coined a word called leveraging. So they leverage their debt. So they use debt to acquire an asset that's going to pay them an income that's higher than that debt they use to get it. Give you an example. Buying a rental property, you needed a down payment. They use the credit card, and this does exist. not much in the working class world, but it does exist. And they may have putting $20,000 on their credit card. But the rental property and the credit card, to be perfectly honest, they don't even care about the interest rate because they do their due diligence to make sure this property is going to cover all of that. And so they use their this debt to make this purchase, and of course they rent this property out, and the renter is paying not only the cost of the mortgage and the interest on the mortgage, they are paying for any expenses that are associated with keeping the property up, any utilities. They're not paying, their rent is covering this because the purchaser of that rental property made sure that it worked out that way, and they can still have a profit. And this is considered an income producing property, which is the unearned income that I heard somebody mention in the chat. However, in order to use that, you need to be really disciplined. Without using that, like I said, it kind of stops you from being able to do a number of things. Now, if you are holding on to cash as opposed to using credit, you can always pay for a property with cash. But if you don't have the total amount, then even if you have cash, you're going to have to get some type of way of supplementing the difference. And when you get into that environment, they're not dealing with the physical cash. So you probably have to have it in some kind of bank account where they can retrieve it from your account in order to cover the closing costs and all of that kind of stuff. So debt and credit can be tricky. It requires a discipline to have it. Or if you are not willing to be disciplined, then it's best to be without it. As mentioned in the chat, if you don't use your credit cards, they will close your account. They don't want you to use these or have these without using them.
So they want to make money off of you. That's what they're trying to do.
Because that's how they make their money. So it makes no sense to have a credit card and you're not going to use it. So they close the account. So another piece of this that I want to talk about is, how do these banks provide loans and credit cards and all of these types of services? Banks, credit cards, depository institutions, how do they do this? Well, for banks and credit unions, well, for all those who offer these, they can do this because they use the money from their depositors. The relationship between the bank and the Federal Reserve is that they have created something called a fractional banking system, which means the banks only have to keep a certain amount of money or currency, fiat currency, on, at the bank. The rest can be loaned out via loan or credit cards. So that's why you're always seeing banks trying to give loans and looking at credit scores and all of that to be able to give loans, because now they can get you in a loan, they can charge interest, and then they make their money that way. It used to be, I remember hearing, this was some time ago, that they had to keep 10% of your deposit. So if you go in and you deposit $1,000, they only have to keep $100. The other $900 they can loan out. And that sounds small, but just imagine how many people are making these deposits. And so that's how this whole thing is set up. It operates off of depositors. So that's why they're always looking for people to open up an account at their banks. Because
But they're not giving out loans like they used to do.
No, they're not. And that was also, a lot of that had to do with the market, the housing market crash in 2007, 8, around in there. And then what happened in 2020. So they start tightening up things, and they're not as free with offering loans and things of that nature.
So Sister Hazel is asking, is the FDIC going away?
No, not that I've heard. And the FDIC is an insurance company, and they insure your money that's in these depository institutions. In the banks, they insure it up to $250,000.
You know what? I know why she asked this question. She probably seen what Jacoba was talking about yesterday, and it do lean. I would think that she did. It do what he was showing. It would appear that something like that is not necessarily on the horizon, but at the same time is not so far fetched. And if they talking about whatever they're trying to do to a system, and so I know, I see why. I mean, that's my thought as to why she asked that question about the FDIC.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is true. I mean, the FDIC only has so much money. So as long as all the banks aren't collapsing and there's this run on a bank, which means everybody's trying to go to get their money out of the bank, and the Federal Reserve is responsible for keeping all that in check. So you see a bank, it closed, another bank bought them out, and the Federal Reserve may have given that bank some kind of incentive to take over this bank. All of this stuff is going on to keep us afloat. And all of this is floating. It's floating, and we don't see it.
But let me ask you something, like with Brother Silver Freak is asking, what do you think about crypto?
Let's see. So I'm going to talk about crypto and other investment strategies in one of the later weeks.
Okay.
But my whole thing is, I don't want to give an opinion, my personal opinion, about any one investment strategy. I'm trying to get us to the mindset of understanding how we generate financial independence and letting you decide if crypto is where you want to go, or the stock market, or real estate, or some other type of investment vehicle. I don't have a problem with any of them. I just want people, I don't want people doing it because somebody said do it. I want you in a position where you're making strategic decisions and not emotional ones. So we will get to that later, and I don't know if it's a couple of weeks, but we will get to that. And
when the moment you get to it and things, and then because I do know what's his brother's name, brother Ricky Sims. He's very big on crypto too, and just to have you all's line of thoughts on it and things of that nature. I know, and I understand what you're saying, Sister Doreen. It's not necessarily to say that you want to say do this and do that, but you give the brothers and sisters tools, what to look out for, and things of that nature. And then you make a conscious decision as to which way you want to go.
Right.
I got you on that one.
I'm not here to try to say, hey, I'm doing all this so you can, buy this kind of stock and I'll show you how to. I'm not about that. You can find that on YouTube every day. I want you in a position where you understand enough, have developed enough new habits, different habits, such that all of that works for you, whichever way you choose. I've seen a lot of people who don't understand the process, and somebody said invest in crypto, and as soon as they said that, they put their money there, and the next day crypto dropped and they took their money out, and they're like, this doesn't work. And it's all because you have no education about it. And so that's my primary thing, is getting us educated to know some of the things that we should be doing or we could be doing that can increase our finances. The bottom line is, to survive, you need to get out. You need to get money into unearned income. You have to go there. But you have to understand what that means. When you start getting into that, you could possibly get into credit and all of that. That's why I'm trying to explain debt and credit, so you understand how to use it properly. There's a way to use it where it's to your advantage. Not all, I got to get out of debt. I'm cutting up my credit cards because they taking advantage. They taking advantage of people who don't understand how it works. And that's what I'm trying to explain. Not so you can cut them up, but maybe make different decisions and choices to start having that work for you. And I hope that everybody understands where I'm coming from. So we will get to crypto, stock, mutual funds, all of these different things I'm going to be talking about in one of the later weeks. And I forgot where I was on this week. I think we were talking about, how the bank only has to reserve a certain amount in the bank. That's another reason why they don't want you running a run on the bank, because they don't have that kind of money there. All these people with all their savings and all of that checkings in there, they don't have that money on hand. Well, as of 2020, that reserve requirement was dropped to 0. So technically, they don't have to have a penny on hand. Now, the banks themselves control themselves about how much they want to have on hand, but they don't have to have any, which I found interesting. So you go in, you open up an account, they're like, oh, thank you, because now that's more money that they can loan out. And there are people that are still getting loans, believe it or not. Those who've learned how to manage their money. And when we learn these things, you don't have to care about monitoring your credit score, because your habits are going to create a great credit score. And that's our problem. We've been told the surface stuff. Watch your credit score. Watch this and do this. That we don't realize, if we just form certain habits, all of that kind of stuff will be taken care of. And that's what I'm trying to get us to. Knowing what those habits are, knowing the discipline of those, and aligning ourselves with that, so we don't have to worry about the other things. And we, I don't want to say survive, we can move financially much better than where we are now. Because, you know, like you can't see, I have a picture of a person in a hamster wheel, because that's what many of us are doing. Just running around in a hamster wheel, just trying to stay afloat, trying to, you know, stay above, keep your head above water, or, you know, keep swimming if you're rich, that kind of thing. And that's where they want you, because they keep making money also. Although they understand the relationship with the wealthy as well, because with the wealthy, it ends up being a win-win situation. The banks like dealing with the wealthy, because at least they know they're going to get their money, because of how the wealthy have structured their financials. It's not coming out of them working. It's coming out of some form of an asset. And so banks like dealing with people like that, because they know that asset is generating the income. So I say all of that because I wanted to bring us back to a scripture, and it's in Proverbs. It is Proverbs 22:7. I'm going there. 22:7. And I've heard this, and I know many of you have heard it. And I used to get down about it. It's like, well, I'm never going to be rich, and those kind of things would be in my head. But it says the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. And so when I had the mentality of the working class, I had to do everything because I just didn't want to be poor. I did not want to be poor because I didn't want some rich person ruling over me. So I thought just being not poor was good enough. And the borrower is servant to the lender. So I didn't want to borrow anything. I just, but what I didn't realize is in certain cases, I am already a lender. And you are already a lender. Because when you go and open up an account at a bank, what you are doing is lending your money to them for the banks to be able to lend it to someone else or to invest it in the stock market and other things that they use to make money off of. So when I started seeing myself as a lender, even in that situation, it caused me to think differently about me and to put me in a mindset of how could I be more of a lender than a servant. And that is another habit that the wealthy have, is how to be a lender more than a servant. Now, being a lender to a bank is not exactly the lenders that we think of, because the bank tells us how they're going to lend the money. How you're going to lend the money to us. Thank you so much. And we're going to tell you the terms. Most of the time you get to tell the terms. Well, I'll lend you this. I need to have it back by here. If it's an institution or whatever, I'm charging you interest and this, that, and the other. They're telling us. So at least we can control it by finding these institutions, financial institutions, that are close to what we're looking for in return for our money. So last week, I challenged you to look into high yield savings accounts. And this again is more reason to not only do it, but to investigate and see who's going to give you the biggest return, at which institution is trustworthy enough and giving you a return as well on your money. Also, we need to look at how to reduce the interest on money we owe back to someone. So the challenge this week is, if you have any credit cards, calling them and simply asking if they would reduce the interest rate. Most of us don't even know we can do that. Doesn't always say you're going to get it, but you definitely won't get it if you don't ask for it. So if you have credit cards and you have an outstanding balance on your credit card, some people pay their credit cards off every month. That's good. At least you're using it and paying it off. That's showing utilization of the credit card. But if you have an outstanding balance, especially if you're having a hard time with getting that balance down or whatever, call and ask if you can get a reduction on your interest rate. That is a challenge for this week. That's what I wanted to talk about for this week. Understand, debt is all about how you use it. There are people that are wealthy because they're in debt, but because they've learned how to use other people's money to their advantage. It takes a discipline. It doesn't happen overnight, but it is a way of managing your money for the good instead of the bad in the way of debt. So that being said, is there any questions?
Let me see.
Oh, I see. Silver Freak said something about silver and gold. That's another thing I'll talk about. I I do see silver and gold a little differently, but I will talk about silver and gold when I get to the whole investing portion and talking about the crypto and all the other things. So let's start looking at how interest and credit, and I should say more credit than interest, how credit can work to our benefit. There's a way to use credit to get out of debt, believe it or not. And it's called, what is it called? Velocity banking. So you might want to look into that, or if you're interested in knowing more about it, email me. And again, I'll put my email, I'll have Brother Mike put my email address up, and I can send you some information on velocity banking. And all of this information I send you guys, I am not getting any money off of this. It is my, I feel like my obligation to pass on this information. So, Mike, I'm putting it in the private.
Okay. Sister Kathy is asking, can we talk about lowering how principal?
All right. You just broke up. I didn't hear a thing you said.
She said, it's posted. I got it. I got her comment and posted.
Okay. Can we talk about how to lower principal on a mortgage next time? Let's see. Yes. Trying to see if I want to go into it. So I have a question. When you talk about lowering the principal, are you talking about paying it off? Or actually getting it lowered? And then I see the second question as well. How to get student loan interest? Not going to happen. Government is pretty steadfast on theirs. And a student loan is, I think, the only type of loan that you can't even get rid of if you file bankruptcy. Student loan is tricky. That was one of them they pulled on us.
I just posted your email information.
Okay, but I would even call them. I mean, they could say yes, they could say no, but okay. So Kathy is talking about her getting her monthly payment lowered. Usually, a mortgage is kind of set, and I've never done this, so I can't say for sure that it can't be done. I'm a person that never says never, but most of the time I've seen it done when it's refinanced. But let me look into seeing if there's a way to get an existing mortgage payment lowered. Oh, I do know one. If you have, what are those mortgages called? It's the mortgages that got a lot of people in trouble in the 2007, 2008 mortgage housing crash. It was the type of mortgage, there's a name to it, I can't think of it right now, but there's the type of mortgage that's not fixed. It's like a variable something mortgage. Is it variable rate or some kind of rate mortgage where it fluctuated with the interest rate? And the reason why I know this is because I had one. And when the interest rate dropped after the 2008 housing market crash, my mortgage payment dropped tremendously. So I do know about that. But I will still check to see if there's other ways, because that's out of your control. That's controlled by the Federal Reserve and your lender. So yeah, I'll check into that and I'll get back to you. And Mike, who asked that question, so I can make sure to let them know.
You talk about the mortgage?
Yes, and if you could email me, I can send you some information on that too.
So that's your email on the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think that was Sister Kathy. Sister Kathy John asked that question.
And I saw something else you had up there. Oh, unless you are disabled, a disabled veteran, 100 P&T, student loan dismissed. Okay. So again, check into that. A lot of times we don't get things because we don't take the initiative and make phone calls or check into it to see how we can benefit from things. And that's another reason why I'm doing this, is to expose us to other ways, other types of ways of doing things that we may not be aware of. So yes, if you have some more personal type questions or whatever, just email me. I wanted to speak about debt today also because it's going to tie in. All of this is going to tie in to overall making some better moves or different moves that is going to end up helping us financially. It's going to help us also because it's going to shift our mindset. And that's the biggest thing. Because once we understand this, once we know this, it doesn't matter where we're at. We'll know how to operate within our household and within the nation. And that, I think, is the most important thing. Whether we become wealthy here or not, and understanding all of this. Another reason why we need to understand about how the whole thing operates, how the process is because this fiat currency that we're using, it's losing value daily. And we don't realize it. We think other things are going on. Oh, corporations are raising prices. Oh, it's the bird flu, and now we don't have eggs, and all of these different things. But even if those things weren't happening, the dollar is still losing value.
Yeah.
Whenever the banks can use your money and as a way to loan out. And I want to clarify that because I don't want you thinking that they can only loan out the money we put in there. They can loan out so much more. They can loan out up to, like I said, 100% of what you put in. That's not necessarily saying that's your money, so you can't go to the bank and ask for it back. They're creating new money out of thin air based on how much you deposit. The Federal Reserve, when the government asked them to increase the debt ceiling, to print more money, when you hear people talking about, oh, we're printing so much money, again, that is lowering the value of the dollar. A lot of us don't understand that, and maybe I need to next week include a little segment on how that looks. And it's hard to explain. Well, no, it's not. I can explain this without needing a chart. But whenever they're printing money like that, that's putting more money in circulation. And I'm going to give a simple example. It's not quite like this. It's sneakier than this, but just to give you the effect of what's going on. So $1, let's just take $1. And let's say, I have a question before I say that. Our money, do you know what our money is backed with?
Zero, nothing.
You're right.
Used to be gold.
Gold.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have people that I've run into that still thought it was backed by gold. But it hasn't been backed by gold.
Ooh, that was back in the 60s.
1971.
Oh, 71. All right.
Yes, when Nixon took us off of the gold standard. And so now it's backed by the confidence in that dollar. That's where the term "it's good as gold" came from. Because it's building confidence, where you can see what's happening with the confidence of the country as a whole, let alone the money. So
let me ask you something on that.
Yeah.
So if you got brothers and sisters that has stocked away gold, can't they put that gold in a bank and borrow money against the gold or silver?
Not necessarily. There are states that recognize gold as a monetary source. I can't remember if my state is or not. I believe Utah is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you can't go in the store and say, hey, I have some gold. I want to buy some bread.
But no, this is what I'm saying though. I mean, I know of some banks where you can put gold, you can put your gold in a bank, and you can borrow money against whatever with gold. It ain't necessarily you can just go tap out. Say, look here, let me get $1 million off of this $1 million worth of gold. I mean, all you did was just traded gold for paper money. That's all you did. But I mean, saying if a person got let's just say $50,000 worth of gold, and they go in, they want to borrow $10,000 against the gold,
I am familiar of that being done. I haven't really checked into it much to see how vastly that is.
Mm-hmm.
But I am familiar with that being done. Yes. Banks, and that's the other side that I'm trying to get us to see.
Mm-hmm.
Banks when I said good debt, and this is part of that, they are willing to make loans off of your assets. And that's, but we don't have assets.
Mm-hmm.
Our biggest asset is us going to work. And we have to see how to get into other assets that we can make work for us. And that gets into that whole investing part of it that we've been so afraid of because we didn't understand. But okay, Silver Freak, there are banks that will purchase gold for you, buy through them. They hold it. You can borrow off of it. Yes.
So let me pose something else to you. um, I'm looking at what's going on, and especially with this young brother who got this car now that it needs no charging. Now I do recognize that what's his name? What's that guy's name? Elon Musk. He took a 59% hit. Now this brother in South Africa, those cars went on sale the 10th of this month because it was seen that would be an excellent investment of a vehicle that needs no charging and a vehicle that can like have your house running off of this particular vehicle. Would you not agree? I mean, if that was something that was possible, do you think the world would jump on that?
That there's a vehicle. I mean, I know about the vehicle.
Yeah. The investment, on the investment side.
Well, yeah. My biggest thing is that I pray that the brother has the right financial education so that he's not taken advantage of.
Oh yeah.
You know, I would hate to see somebody come and take that from him because they offered him something that sounded good, but because he's not financially educated or may not be financially educated, doesn't realize that it was a bad deal.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He needs to keep that within his control for as long as he can. I would hate to see somebody like a what's his name, Elon Musk, swindle him out of something like that over some money.
That's another thing. And you know how they do. We know the history. And they, if they don't, I mean, what? It's a known fact that they tried to take this brother's life. And so, next, all right, hey, we want to buy this from, we think it's a great idea. And then just get you all prepped up to make you feel like this or that. But I just hope, like what you said, that this brother, he doesn't fall into that category.
Yeah. And I another reason why I'm glad I'm doing this right now is so that we can become educated to know how to protect him. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna him fighting alone. It's gonna take us fighting and protecting him as well.
Yes.
And so many of us don't know what we can do to help, or even if we can help, we're so indebted that we would love to but can't. And we have to get ourselves out of that and in positions where something like that could never happen. And that's why I'm glad I'm doing this now.
Strength in numbers.
You know, it's not just him. It's like, oh, I hope he's it has to be a collective thing. That's why
Yeah.
I said getting us in the right mindset set collectively, we're getting the nation there. And those
Yeah.
things don't happen because we know how to make the power moves.
Mm. Strength in numbers. Strength in
Yeah, so
numbers.
I'm hoping, and I asked us all to pray that the Most High continues to keep that hedge of protection around him, so that this is not one other thing that's taken.
Yeah. That's the ticket. Um, and like I was saying earlier, you're seeing a whole lot of black faces standing up. I mean, his brother, and sister, for a fact, we invented a lot of stuff, and that's just a known fact. We have a lot of inventors that are of us, and it's now they're seeing these brothers and sisters. They're being more blatant about their inventions and what they're intent on doing. Whatever changes that needs to be made. If you're coming in my house and you stealing, they're gonna let the world know you came in my house and you stole this. And so this is where we're standing at right now. We're standing literally at that doorstep, calling these people out.
Right.
And they little bullying tactic. It ain't working no more. It's not working no more. And so we just came to that point. Enough is enough. And we just like, hey, what you want to do? You go steal from me, then you go get smart. You go get smart with me. And the world know you've been stealing. Come on. No, we turning a whole different page now. And when it comes to like what you're saying, it's a mindset when it comes to money and how the money moves and how we need to know all of these things. Because we're about to be put in a situation where we're going to need to understand, hey, you know how you moved in captivity. You know how you moved. Now you need to know how to move within your own nation. And then you go out and help the world. That's just my line of thinking on that now, sis.
Oh, definitely, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
We've been embedded with so much misinformation that a lot of us are even afraid to make the steps, and that's something we have to get over.
Sis, when it comes to money, we do have a fear, but truthfully, our mindset should be money should fear us. And that should be our mindset, because the more you tell yourself that money should fear you, I seriously believe you'll come to a better understanding of what you need to do with money, how you need to move money. Money is not all about you just getting out there trying to show out in the streets like we used to doing. Going out there buying big trucks, big rims, and you staying at home with your mama. And you got bills, your bills are running behind. Yeah, it's a whole mindset that we have to get rid of and turn this stuff around. I understand it, but it's that fear of losing money that we have that fear of. No, I think the fact that we mentally, money needs to fear us.
And Mike, I'm going to ask, what does that look like? Money has to fear us. What does that mean? How does money fear us? And that's the level I'm trying to get us at, because when we start saying money has to fear us without an understanding of what that means, it just becomes a cliche.
Well, when I say money should fear us, it's the fear that we know exactly how money needs to be moved around in order to benefit you, your family, or your nation. That's what I'm talking about. Because when it's all over said and done, you're going to have your opposition that's going to come from other nations. And it is truthfully, it's going to be other nations that's going to be fearing you. But I'm just using money because we all know what money is. We have that fear about money. We're not money, but who is the person behind the money? That's one thing we don't see. We don't look at the person that's behind the money. We have a fear of losing the money.
Right. And that's how we were trained. It's this scarcity mindset that, there's only so much. And if they have, you have to, deal with not having, which none of that is true. But we've been led to believe that. We've been trained in such a way that that becomes truth in our life until we make different moves and realize that wasn't the truth at all. And it's not going to happen if we sit back and go, yeah, I hear what they're saying. I'm just going to wait. And because the transformation really doesn't take place until you take the action to make it make sense. To try to conceive this in your mind, you're still going to be making the physical movements of what you've already been doing. Until you take the actions to do something different, it's not going to have the same impact. And you can continue to say, yeah, money fears me. I don't fear money. But your actions will show everything that you do fear money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be, the action is going to tell what you're really thinking. It's going to tell it, because if you're saying money should fear you, trust and believe. You're not going to be riding around here talking about a ring on every finger, trying to be stunned in front of everybody. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You will be on a whole different wavelength. And then people, they could pass by you, and you may be holding billions of dollars in your pocket, but the fact that you look like the average person in the neighborhood, they will never know. It's people that wants to stand out. It's people that wants to stand out from amongst the rest, and even amongst their own people. That's when it's a problem.
Yeah,
that's when it's a problem. And I mean, that's just my line of thinking on that, sis. That's just my line of thinking on that.
Yes. I see someone, Sister Kathy said, we fear losing the money. Exactly.
Oh, yes, we do.
Because we've been trained that you only have so much. And because we've used all of that just to survive or exist or have our head above water, we don't have any wiggle room to lose. And nobody taught us how we can get out of that cycle. And again, one of the first steps is taking a challenge from last week. It's not a whole lot, but it's more than what you had. And if you haven't heard the broadcast from last week, go back and listen to it. It's the mindset. But just simply, it's called the mindset, I think. It's simply moving your money out of a savings account that's not serving you into one that's going to serve you better. That's it. And I know there are people that even are afraid to make that step. We got to take the steps, take the action steps in order to start seeing the changes take place, to see money in your account that you didn't work for, it does something to your psyche. And it causes you to start thinking a little differently. Hearing what I'm saying, even if I was showing you my slides and all of that, without taking that action, it ends up with a lot of us going, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes because tomorrow becomes today. So we have to, if we want to start moving as a nation that's not acting like crabs in a barrel, we got to take these steps to get us moving in the right direction.
So let me ask you something then, sis.
Yes.
It's just like with Sister Kathy. She said, we put our money as one people, we can make the world go round. So now let me pose something to you. Is that possible, sis? I mean, can it be done?
If we have the right mindset, exactly. It definitely can be done. And that's the whole purpose of this. Again, can you imagine having so much money? And when I say so much money, I'm not talking about you have to be a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, but so much money that when it's time for us to put in money collectively as a nation, and when I say so much money, I'm talking about money working for you, not money you went out and worked for.
Money working for you.
But remember, that the money you work for is your seed. But that harvest that comes from that, or the new seeds that come from that you can plant and create more seeds or more harvest, that's that money that you can make moves with without touching your seed. When we are there, it takes a lot of that fear away of not having the money. Okay, it was a bad deal. I put that, but I still have my seed to create more. But when you plant your seed somewhere and it becomes a bad deed, that's gone. And that's when we get into that fear of losing our money.
So let me pose something to you. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that we came together and we managed to come up with $1 million. So based upon that million, and we put that money in a high interest rate banking, and whatever today's rate is, how much do you think? I mean, how much will that come out every month that will be built in that account?
It all depends on the interest rate and all of that. Although when you start talking that kind of money, you're not looking at high yield savings account as a vehicle. There are many more vehicles that can do a lot better for you than a high yield savings account.
I mean, I don't know. You're the expert. That's only you know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, and that's where I'm getting us to. We have to know. I'm trying to unlock a door, open this door to a world we haven't been privy to. All of this is possible. Nobody showed it. Nobody showed it to us. All of this is possible. You see other people doing it right now. We're no different other than we lack the knowledge. And that's the biggest thing, getting the knowledge. I think personally, I think this has a big deal to do with how we trust each other as well.
Oh yes, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's most definitely there. We got that stigmatism that was placed upon us and things of that nature, and so and yeah, that's that's a huge problem. But it's not to say that it cannot be overcome um, in things. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying on that because I mean, what if you stand back and you look at other nations and you see how they can come together and they'll do this. What you're talking about is what they be about. And see, all we doing right now, I mean, unfortunately, is talk. You
Right.
know, until we get to that point where uh, we can, trust, and it seems like that trust going. Oh, that's. I mean, that's gonna be with a great deal of prayer and supplication to the Most
Right.
High.
I was getting ready to say yes, because I mean it's so deep. We don't trust each other. Uh Even if we're going to the continent, the trust between the people on the continent and the diaspora. It all of this, we have to build that up. Um or learn how to trust each other. A lot of that is because we have so little, or we think we have so little. I have to guard what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start realizing we're free to lose something because we haven't lost the foundation, we haven't lost the core, it starts building um, a different view of how we see people. Uh, if you know that I may have, if I go into this venture with somebody, okay, I may have a setback,
Mm-hmm.
but I won't be shut down. It's totally different than I'm giving you my last and hoping that this works. And if it doesn't, then, you were some kind of crook or whatever. And that's what happens when you're operating off of all you have. We have to learn how to get beyond this is all I have, and giving away our seed. We have to.
Mm.
So, and that's the biggest difference. When we get to the end of this, these next few weeks, wow, and really learn how to structure our household. Yeah, it's gonna make a big difference. And
You know,
oh,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm setting up now. I'm getting my website back up and running, um, so we can have a place to come and be a community that supports and encourages each other, and continue to learn, and look for people that do have various skills, because not everybody wants to sit here and follow everything. Well, I got to look at what the Fed Reserve says, and I got to do this, and I got to. Not everybody is equipped to do all of that. But having people in place that we know as family from the nation, when I say that are doing that can feed us this, because we're focusing on this here, and all the little pieces come together, um, and make up the body. we're unmovable. I know you've seen families where, okay, this one is doing this, and then this one went to school and they became an attorney, and another one became an accountant, and they have all the pieces together to keep that family moving and reducing the risk of it being taken advantage of. That's where we need to be as a nation, with everybody playing their part.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I'm not trying, I'm setting that up so we'll have a place to go above and beyond the YouTube channels and the things of that nature, but just having a place where we can bounce ideas off each other, network with each other, all of that kind of stuff, and learn relearning how to trust each other.
Yeah, you're right about that now. And it seems now this could be just me. It seems like our trust has to be, it had to start with the lowest denominator, like $1, and then, you just build it up from there. And it seems because they go look at $1, all right, yeah, I give it to you. But when you starting to see it grow, and you're starting to see that dollar, that $2, it started to grow, and it's starting to gain momentum. And then it's going to also have an effect on the brothers and sisters, because they're going to start to recognize it. Hey, this thing is kind of it's moving. It's moving.
Yep.
And then when we get to move, you start to move. Hey, we got to make this money we got here. We got to make money off of this money, because we're not going to use the seed. We're going to use whatever interest that comes off of this money to do this investment over here. We're going to also do an investment over there. And so that's the way I'm seeing this. So it's not, could be wrong.
No, and that's why I'm saying take the action from last week. And this is like low risk. Just take some, put it in another bank, in another savings account, especially if you currently have one. I'm telling you, once you see that, it just does something. It's like, wow. And that's why I'm calling this baby steps to wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Start with the small. There are accounts out there. You don't even have to have a penny. You can open it. Just open the account. Now you have to fund it within a certain period of time, or they're going to close it. But you don't have to have any money to open up an account. Either research it for yourself, or send me your email and I can send you the list of ones that I have researched and or have put money in. This is the grassroots bottom of starting this journey. If you're not willing to do that and you're stuck, I don't know how else you get unstuck. Okay, we've been taught to pray, and the Most High get us out of this.
Yeah, but the Most High wants you to have some actions with it also. He'll give you the knowledge. He'll give you the information.
Yep, I was getting ready to say, but the Most High, it was also said, faith without works.
It's dead. Dead as a doorknob.
Yep. If you have credit card debt, make that phone call. It may end up being fruitless, but it may not. They may lower it for you. That's another form of keeping some money in your pocket, in the form of not having to pay as much interest. If you're in over your head and you don't even know how to begin to get out of debt because you don't have any money to pay extra to get you out of debt, email me. I can send you some things that you can do. Even with zero money, every penny you have is going towards something. You can still get out of that debt, that type of consumer debt.
Mm.
So, yeah, I
Mm.
hope you got something out of this. Um, I was hoping I didn't get too detailed about the operation. I just want you to understand how debt is really operating.
Yeah.
And
But
sometimes getting all the way out of it may not be the best option.
you know what? But when it's all over said and done, and then this, we've been talking about this stuff for years, and this is before the awakening. We always said, why black people just can't work together. So now, um, I mean, only thing we can do is come up with some doable situations. I mean, if it gets down to it, hey, and it's just hypothetically speaking, you get to a point where you say we want to build up our nation, and all we asking is for $1 a month. If it's going to take $1 a month, so be it. But it's going to grow. All right. I mean, you start to grow, then you start putting people like yourself over this. All right. Let's invest it and get get an interest rate off of this particular money. And then you just start making decisions from there. Hey, we need to invest it over here. We need to invest over there. Because when it's all over said and done, you never know how most I will move that. You may start a bank with that. You never know. And that's the thing looking at, because all of us that are of Israel, we was created for this, for greatness. This is what the Most High said now. We were chosen by him. We represent him. And we got to get our mindset on that level. We gonna have to get our mindset on that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody's mindset is not gonna be on the same and you may
Level.
have people that's on a financial level, they understand money. Some people just not going to, they just not going to have that gift, but they may just have that support, you know. And that's just my line of thinking.
Right. Right. I get it. Um, I hear you. Again, it's the baby steps.
Yeah.
It's the baby steps. But right now, high yield savings account, and start finding ways to make credit work for you and not against you. That ultimately is what I wanted to get at today, is when you can find ways to have credit work for you, not against you, then debt isn't all bad.
Mm. Well, I'll say this. I mean, we just take the information we got from this from today and to last week, and we just start compounding this information. And at the same time, we got to start putting it into action. You know, if you say, hey, look at these little small accounts, hey, open it up, just let it start growing from there. And you're starting to see momentum. You start doing things a whole lot better. You start to scrutinize how you spend money, how you think about money. And that's what I got out of it, sister, from the
Right.
last 2 weeks.
Right.
That's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
Do you have, she's there, sister Zenobia is asking, do you have a cash app?
Do I have a cash app? Yes,
Uh-huh.
I do. I'm not giving it out, but are you sending money? No, not to Cash App. That's another thing.
Hmm.
Not that there's nothing wrong with Cash App. There's nothing wrong with PayPal. There's nothing wrong with Venmo. Can I ask why why you ask if I have a Cash App?
I think people, donate some money
You
to
want
you.
to
That's what.
bless me? Here's another thing. The government has just changed the rules.
Yeah.
These Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App now have to report on a 1099 if you make so much money. I think they changed the rules again. So for 2024, it's a certain amount. For 2025, it's another amount. Eventually, what they're trying to do is get this amount down to $600. If you make money over $600, it has to be reported and you have to prove that this is not business income. So before, you didn't have, it wasn't reported. Now you should have been reporting it yourself if it was business income, but now they are looking at that. So the only system that is not involved in that, and the only reason why they're not involved is because they're not an app. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App are apps. The only one that's not involved works within the banking system, and that's Zelle.
Mm.
But no, I'll give you the Cash App, and it's basically $wealthy friend.
Yeah, put it in the chat and I can put it up there for you.
Okay. And and I forgot that's Cash App. I'm sorry. You can add. Well, no, you can't. Can you? Let me put in here Cash App. Hold on. And all right.
Okay, I got you.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I don't have a problem with Cash App, but I love getting this kind of information and passing it on. So this like makes my day, but just to keep everybody else informed, because I noticed, Mike, you have like Cash App and
I have so many problems with Cash App. Oh, let me shut up. Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that was one of the things I wrote down to myself. Oh, I got to ask Mike why he uses Cash App. But that's one of the reasons why, is because eventually, as more and more people donate, they're going to be reporting that.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, unless Trump gets rid of the IRS.
Yeah, you ain't lying. He got so much stuff going on. Since I'm serious. And I don't know. Is this man doing? That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, he's not going to get rid of IRS. I think he's talking about getting rid of earned income taxes. But I think businesses are still going to be paying taxes. So anyway, yeah, like you said, that's a whole nother story. And it's getting on to be time here for me to get to another appointment. So I hope this was helpful. Make that phone call and see if you can get your interest rate reduced. It may or may not work. I'm not doing it, or I'm not saying or asking you to do it just so you can get it to work, but to know some of the power that you have.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Hey, sister, I'd like to thank you for coming on, and I hope that I can, like I said, sis, I gotta try to get money together myself to get another laptop, and so I can just do these lives off of the laptop where I can pull down these videos and things. I was thinking that I can pull these videos off a phone and everything. It doesn't work like that. No,
No.
it's only like through the laptop.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I just don't want to go out here and buy no $300 laptop because you will get a $300 worth of work out of it too. So, I mean, so that's the thing I'm working on right now, just trying to get the laptop because there's a whole lot of videos that I have stored up that I wanted to share and everything, but it remains to be seen. All right, go ahead, Sister Monica. What's your question? Wait a minute. Yeah, they do, Sister Kathy. I mean, they go try to take every dime out of you and then leave you back on the chopping block, trying to figure out how to get it back or how to make it and things.
So I see Sister Monica asked a question earlier. How can we exchange currency to invest on the continent's stock market?
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about that. It does exist when we get into the investing. What is this one? This is our second. Okay, third is fourth. But it can be done. There's the foreign exchange market. It's called the Forex. So I haven't looked into it to see who's all involved, which countries are all involved in it, but that's where it would be, or one of the places it would be. So was that the question you were talking about, Sister Monica?
I believe it was because she said she had a question. Then you said what you said, and I think that was the question that she was asking. Yeah. But now, you know what I'm telling you. Now, you got your brother and you got your sisters right here asking questions about it. And I don't care if it was just one. But that one, wait a minute. She said she would like the info on the Forex.
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right.
I can send it to you.
You got Sister Monica, you got an email address, right? You know what? Let me just do it this way. I can go back to it. Boom. And I can repost it. Hold on. Well, you know what? All I gotta do is I'm acting out like I'm brand new at this thing. Hold on. Boom. No, hold on. Boom. Boom. Okay, hold on. Let me post it now. There you go. And okay, let me do it this way. And there's, wait a minute, I put the wrong thing up there. Boy, I tell you the truth. That ain't that crazy. I gotta put. Sis, let me tell you something. I'm trying to get this. Wait a minute, sis. Oh, I did. Wealthy, yeah, I did do this. Copy. Okay. Okay, let me see. Boom. Boom. There we go. All right. And boom. There you go, Sister Monica, I got her email is back up. Let me see what else we've done. All right. But yeah, so I mean, next week, I mean, you know what? It seems like, I mean, and you know, time will tell. If it's really starting to, you know, if it's starting to take a lot more roots and it goes a little bit deeper, may have to start, you know, seeing to it that you be on like twice a week, you know, and things of that nature. Because this type of information is what we need. This is what we need in order for us to have that mindset, a change of mindset. You know.
Yep.
Okay, Sister Monica, I'm you know, all right. I'm gonna check my. I'll check it. But brothers and sisters, I'd like to thank you all for coming in today. And at least this sister's here on this channel, brothers, because I'm this is me. I just felt that because when Sister Doreen first came on and she made a comment, that's, man, I need to talk to that sister because it was something about finances and things. I mean, and that's how the conversation got started because she made a comment, and that's when I told her, I said, no, I need to talk to you. But when we started talking, they said, you know, there's some things that we need to know. And there's a mindset that we all have that we was taught, you know, and it was not a good one. And so this is the whole thing. I think the Most High is gearing us up for us to take the lead in doing what is right towards our nation as a family. That's just me, you know, that's just me now. And so because we've seen that the world kept us separated so deep. I mean, and we gotta come up out of it. We got to come up out of it. There's no trust in one another. It's a battle that we will have to really come to grips with. That we do need to make the change. And like what the Sister Doreen said, it's not going to be overnight. But long we start taking these little baby steps, and we start to get stronger, because eventually a baby's going to wobble. And after that baby start wobbling, she start running. He or she start running. And so that's how we have to look at it. And your brothers and sisters, keep your head on the swivel. The enemy is upset. We're awakening, and we're getting stronger as the days go by. Keep your head on a swivel, I tell you. And continue to pray for your brothers and sisters. There's a lot of strength in that. And on that note, you got anything else, Sister Doreen?
That'll be it until next week. Are we going back to Wednesday, or are we going to stick with Thursday?
No. I got hammed up on. I got my days so mixed up, since it wasn't even funny. But we could stick with Saturday. I mean, Saturday. I tell you, it's Wednesday. Right. And then, I mean, like I said, if it started to, you know, there's a lot more feedback on it, we'll do it 2 days out of the week, you know. And you know, you make that decision and things of that nature.
Okay. All right. I'm just giving everybody enough time to follow up and take action. That's why I made it weekly.
All right.
So yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I'll see you all again next Wednesday. In the meantime, I'll be in the chat the other days.
All righty.
And I say shalom to everybody.
Likewise. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Be safe.